Hey there, and welcome to Houston Real Estate A to Z with Amy Zebra. I'm Amy, your real estate guide, community insider, and proud native Houstonian with almost 15 years experience in the business. Real estate isn't just black and white. It's about people, progress, and possibilities. Whether you're an investor, a builder, or just someone looking for the best this city has to offer, I've got the expert insight, real stories, and fresh perspective to help you make the right moves in both real estate and life. Let's dive in.
Hello, and welcome to the A to Z of Houston Real Estate with Amy Zebra. I am Amy Lynch Kolflat, otherwise known as the Zebra Real Estate Agent. And I am here with Mr. Eric Christie, and it's Boxer Inspection, which is very cool. I like your
the logo
looking thing over there. Tell me, what does it take to be an inspector?
in the state of Texas. You have to be licensed, of course. It's the Texas Real Estate Commission license us the same as they license our real estate agent professionals.
Yes.
Right? And so you have to, when I took it, it was about 440 hours worth of training that you had to take. They've since reduced that a couple of years back. So it's around 200 hours or so of training that you have to get.
Right.
Most of it's book learning and it's self-paced. And then you have some classes that you attend in person. Then you go take your license. There's a national test and a Texas test. And as long as you pass both of them, then you get to get your license as an
Nice. Sounds like becoming a realtor as well.
very similar to that.
Very similar. And there's a lot of common sense. How long you been doing this?
I've been inspecting this is my 8th year now.
Okay.
I renewed in September of this year.
Nice.
So just past the 8-year mark. And, we inspect obviously just residential, commercial, investor properties, pretty much anything that somebody has a question about their property, whether it's a house or a commercial building or something. We with it.
Nice. And you own your own company.
Yes. Yeah. It's my company. Yeah.
That's really brilliant. And you got friends working with you?
We have, partners just like in any organization. So there's real estate partners and investors. We have a big block of investors that we work with.
Okay.
Because before I became an inspector, we were in the real estate space as investors. So we were buying properties, rehabbing them, doing joint ventures and things of that nature. And so that helped me to kind of understand what they needed. And so when I started being an inspector, I said, hey, that's probably an underserved market.
It absolutely is. I hate having to wait to find a good inspector to be able to come out. And one that finds the problems, but doesn't scare the buyer.
Right.
There's
breaking the deal.
Yeah, there's a delicate line there with inspectors. You don't want to have someone that's like, oh, the house is going to fall down. But you do want them to tell you when you find something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the key, I think, is being able to communicate with people and such that they can understand it, right? And
Right.
in some cases, I'll have real estate professionals will call me and say, I've got a client and they're an engineer. Is that okay? And I'm like, yeah, perfectly fine. I can talk to them, not scared of them. They can ask as many questions as they want.
Engineers really like to see drawings, graphs, and details. Yeah.
And so from that, in my discussions, I let them know, hey, there's certain things about the house. It just is what it is.
Right.
The way it was built, we're not going to change it. It may be a deficiency that we have to report, but we're going to help you to understand, hey, this is just something we're not going to do. We're not going to tear down a brick wall to correct for something. But if there is an issue in it and it's a very simple fix, we'll describe it to them.
Right.
Say, if you do buy the house and you do want to get this corrected, then here's what it is. Now let's focus on things that are safety related, something that's going to affect you as an individual as you're living in the house, or the structure of the home.
Correct.
And so if they understand those things and they can take those things that we're not going to worry about and push those over here, then let's just look at the meat of the inspection report. And these are the items that we're going to be concerned with. And then they can take their pick from which ones that they want to
Nice.
sellers with.
Well, and like the building code is always changing.
Dynamic, yes.
Yes, always dynamic. Yes. It's morphing. So you've always got the plans. So the way that they did, outlets in the 70s is not the way. So is that outlet functioning? Yes. Is it up to today's code? No. And that's also a fine line.
Yes, and older homes like that had what we refer to as a 2-wire system, was just a hot and a neutral, right?
Mhm.
And what was missing was the ground. And
Right.
when we
The
came to
green
the
wire.
3-wire system,
Yeah.
we added the ground to that. And so you do have houses out there, and I'm sure across the US and certainly here in Houston, which have a hybrid system.
Oh,
So
yeah.
they have some 2-wire outlets that are in the house, and they'll also have some 3-wire outlets. So maybe the electrical panel's been changed, but some of the outlets didn't get updated. And those are typically the ones that are on the exterior of the home, because as the roof is coming down and the wall comes up, that space gets really narrow over there. So you can't get somebody over there to feed that wire. So
Yeah.
those tend to be the ones that don't get updated. All the ones on the interior of the house that are easily accessible and stuff like that, those are ones that get updated.
Right. Right. I hadn't thought about that being the interior and the exterior walls.
Yep.
So you have to be kind of like an electrician, a plumber, a framer. You've got to know a little bit about all the trades.
Yeah. And most inspectors will describe themselves as a generalist for that. But I think that every inspector brings some of their past experience with them. So in some instances, I say in some instances, in a lot of cases, inspectors come from the trades or in the building field. So they were either a construction manager, or they were a roofer or a framer or something like that. And they've changed that role. So if they were a framer at that time, then they bring that framing knowledge in, but maybe their roofing is maybe a little, and I say weak, but just not as familiar with it, or electrical for that.
Right.
And so they have things that they are a little bit better about it, just like everybody else. They're a little bit better about that aspect of it. But the inspector really has to study these other areas and be as familiar as possible with it.
Yeah.
And through my experience, I've helped some other inspectors get into the field, and they always ask, "Hey, can we come to an inspection?" I'm like, "Sure, no problem. I just need to need to make sure that the people involved in the transaction know that you're going to be there. Give them an opportunity." And I say, "Look, you go write your own report. You do your own inspection. I will send you the report without any customer information in it, and you can compare notes with what's in there to see what you missed. And if you have questions about it, we call it." And one of them asked me, he's like, "How do you know all this stuff?" And I said, "Well, you have to learn it. Of course, it's like anything." I said, "But if it's not in your head to notice it, when you see it, you won't." That's it.
Right.
And so that's the challenge, is having all those nuggets of information in your brain, so that when you see it on a property, that you know that, hey, that's not correct. Let's just note that.
Yeah. Yeah. The deficiencies on an inspection report are always sad.
Correct. Yep. And they're deficiencies, right? And so,
Yeah.
as you know, there's no requirement that a seller fix anything,
Right.
right? It's all part of the negotiation
As is
for
where
the
is.
property.
Yeah.
And so, and some people tell, "Hey, can't you make them do that?" And I said, "No, the only people that can do that are what's referred to as the authority having jurisdiction, which would be a city or municipal." So when the city comes out and does an inspection on a house or a commercial property, they're the ones that can enforce those, either electricians or plumbers,
To
people
update.
to make the change that needs to happen. It's a little bit more. That's also when you're dealing with new construction.
Or when you pull building permits or
right.
Yeah.
My clients will ask, "Hey, it's a brand new house, and we do an inspection. We find some things wrong." And it's like, "What do I do?" And I just send the whole thing to the builder.
Yeah.
I said, "It's a new house."
Make a punch list.
Yeah. And I tell them up front, "Hey, these things are probably going to come back and say they're not going to fix, but these other things, though, pretty sure they'll take care of. There shouldn't be an issue with them asking them to get those corrected."
Right.
So,
Not usually.
It's when the houses are pre-existing and it may be 20 years old, or
Because
something
it's
of that-
functioning, it's just not up to today's code.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the key. And then another thing I tell people is that we are inspecting the house by today's standard. So even though the house was built 50 years ago, it's not going to meet today's standard. The house was built 5 years ago, it's not going to meet today's standard. But that's the way we're inspecting the house, and we'll help them to understand, hey, this was something the way the house was built at that time.
Absolutely.
And, is it a concern or not? If it's a structural issue or something like that, then yes, absolutely. But we want to make sure that communication is there. They walk away from it not being afraid of that inspection report. And basically it's using the other side of the brain as opposed to the emotional side of the brain, so that, as you know, buying a house is an emotional decision.
Oh, so
So
much.
the inspection is injecting a little bit of logic in there and say, okay, well, let me think about this purchase. Is it a good fit for us?
There we go. It also gives something to negotiate with. If there is something, if you do need to negotiate a change or repair or a compensation towards it, then that's the time. And a good report that's thorough is always handy.
Yes, and I had as experience, because I had an agent ask me about that yesterday and said that she had a report that came in that was only 15 pages.
They're at least 40 and 50 pages.
And she was surprised about it. And I said, consider this. I said, the Texas Real Estate Commission mandates that inspectors follow a minimum standard called the standards of practice. And when we go and do an inspection on a residential property, these are the specific items that we're supposed to go and inspect.
Right.
I said, if you just do that minimum standard, your report's going to be 15 pages.
Wow.
Because it's only asking for 3 or 4, maybe 5 things in each system that we're supposed to go and report on as deficient if we find it. So it ends up with short inspection reports.
Wow.
But if you do that, that's a disservice to your client. That's my opinion.
It's not, you're not doing the fiduciary thing, which is taking care of them and making sure that they're knowledgeable about their house, how it works, where the things are, what everything means.
It's not just the code.
What's this button do? Yeah.
Well, as you say, you walk in the house, you flip a switch up, you look up, does the fan or light work? Nothing moves, right?
Right.
What's that switch for? Right. I just got to the house. I don't know. But the sellers say, oh yeah, that's a switch over there for, one of the outlets, right?
Yeah.
Or we had a fan here, we didn't took it out, but we just left the switches. Well, we don't know that. So we just say, hey, that switch didn't do anything when I tested it. Or if you go in and there's only one switch and there's lights in there, you turn the switch on and the lights don't come on, you mark it and you go through the house, do something else, you come back and the lights are on. It's like, well, that was weird. But at the TREC says you must operate in the normal mode that somebody's going to use it.
Right.
So if you walk in a room, turn on a light switch and the light don't come on, then you have to report that as deficient. It's not just wait 2 minutes and they'll come on their own. That's not normal.
It slowly turns on.
That's not normal.
They got to warm up.
You got to hold your mouth right when you flip the switch.
That's funny. Okay, so about being like a generalist and knowing all the things, but you have like special certification for all kinds of other things. Well, you fly a drone.
Yep.
And you've licensed for that.
Yes, as we talked about earlier, to inspect properties that are 3 and 4 stories tall, you have to have some way to get up to that. And carrying a 60-foot ladder is probably not reasonable in those cases. So I went and I bought a drone. And since I'm compensated for the use of that drone, because we have to inspect that property, you have to have a license from the FAA. And that's known as a Part 107. So it's kind of like the very first, it speaks specifically about UAVs, which are unmanned aerial vehicles, as opposed to an airplane, which is manned. But basically everything that pilots need to know at the beginning of their training session is what's required for having a UAV license.
Yes, so you're licensed and insured and all the stuff.
Absolutely.
With your
if
drone.
you got a license, you got to have insurance.
There it is. There it is. Absolutely. So cool. But then you've got maybe termites and swimming pools and like all these other little specialized.
Correct. So I do have a certifications for swimming pools. That's from the National Swimming Pool Foundation.
Yeah. Got to watch out for those single drains. Yes.
Exactly. And I have a certificate for thermal camera inspections. We use thermal camera, which sees infrared light to help us. So our eyes can't see that. And so that helps us to look for differences in heat, which may indicate problems with the electrical system, the heating and cooling system, water leaks, or missing or thin insulation in ceilings and walls. So that's what that's for. And as you mentioned, I have a technician's license to do wood destroying insects, which most people call a termite inspection.
Yeah. WDI.
Yep. That comes from the Texas Department of Agriculture. TREC has nothing to do with that. So we have to go to a different organization and get licensed with them. And there, of course, there's CE that goes along with it.
Yeah.
So
So all the continuing education, you're always having to take classes, huh?
there's a ton, yes.
Yeah.
And it's, you don't want to do it all at the end when you need fixing to renew your license because that becomes very stressful.
Mhm.
So doing a little bit at a time is
Throughout the year, kind of. Yeah.
and if you are working with organizations, different
Mhm.
organizations in your field, a lot of them will offer training 1 hour, 2 hour, 3
Right.
hours and stuff like that, where you can go and be a part of that organization and maybe get some CE training at the same time. So that's
And
also
network.
that too.
Hey,
There's
it's a
always networking.
win-win. Yeah.
Always.
Yes, that's very cool. Okay, so you're getting all your certification is what else are you certified in? I mean, I popped out 2 of them, but I don't know what else there could be.
Those are the certifications that I have.
Mhm.
I have taken. We're on the exterior of a house. We're supposed to inspect the exterior, whether it's wood or
Ooh,
brick or stone.
stucco. Stucco is a
Stucco,
specialty.
right? And that's what I was getting to.
Yeah.
I have taken 6 classes in stucco just because of all the little things that go into the installation of it.
Right.
And having somebody that's knowledgeable about it in one of our instructors that teach it, and I've actually taken his class 3 times because as you keep taking it, you learn little nuggets as you go along. What's interesting about the stucco is that in the building codes, everything is almost every code is managed by the International Code Council.
Okay.
And so they handle, the plumbing code, the mechanical code, the fuel gas, the building or construction code, the international residential code, and a
Right.
whole bunch of others. The ones they don't manage are the National Electrical Code. That one is managed by the National Fire Protection Association
Okay.
because electrical things can cause fires.
Right.
And so they're the ones they have managed it from the get-go, and they continue to do so. The other one, which is interesting, is stucco. So there is no standard specific for stucco that is managed by the International Code Council.
Huh.
To find that standard, you have to go to ASTM, which is used to be known as the American Society of Testing and Measurement. Now it's just known as ASTM.
Okay.
And they have 2 standards. One, which is the how to attach the stucco to the house. So it's the materials that go onto the house before you apply stucco,
Mhm.
and then the application process of stucco.
Wow.
And so as a installer for stucco,
Mhm.
if you were even familiar with ICC and you went there, you won't find one. You won't find a standard related to stuff.
Okay.
And so how
That's
would
kinda
somebody
scary.
know? Yeah. How would somebody
Yeah.
know that they're going to do it? They're going to be taught by the person that hires them, who was taught by somebody that hired them, who's taught by, and so
Mhm.
if there are mistakes being made, they're usually propagated down through the training programs because they don't know and haven't read that standard. And that's something that we find very, very often is there's going to be deficiencies related in the installation of stucco.
Mhm.
And it's already on the house at that point. So what do we do? So that's when we have a conversation with the buyer,
Mhm.
let them know, hey, these are the warning signs that you need to look for. I always
Watch for
recommend
this.
walk around the house
Yeah.
2 times a year. Just look for anything that looks unusual.
Right.
And tell them that if you got questions, send me a picture, send me an email, call me. I said, more than happy to try to answer questions and stuff of that nature. But if you have stucco, look for these signs that there may be a problem.
Right.
And if you do, then, call me. We'll talk about it.
I
try
think
to
we need
establish
to
it.
do a whole podcast just on stucco.
And then, and then if need be, I can come out and take a look at it.
Yeah.
Or if it's, if we think it's serious or whatever, let's have a stucco inspector come out, which is going to do some destructive testing.
Yeah, because they drill little holes and
Measurement, take measurement, which usually doesn't happen on a house that somebody's buying
right.
because the seller doesn't want somebody to damage their outside of their house, which is understandable.
Mhm.
But, if we notice something like that, then that's certainly something that needs to be identified with the buyer so that they understand what the implications of it are.
Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe talk to somebody about what would it cost me to remove stucco around this window and make the repairs. And we
Right.
have an idea of
Fix flashing and things.
what they would be
Yeah.
facing in that case.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, because stucco can be costly, and Houston is hard on stucco.
It is
Yeah.
in the environment. And, common things we find like just sprinkler heads that are spraying on the side of the house of stucco is a no-no,
Yeah.
and it's very common.
Doesn't
You
like
walk up to
water.
the house and you see the telltale hard water deposits on the outside on the stucco. And it's like, And we know what's going to happen. So then we start looking for water damage.
Mm-hmm.
That's unfortunately.
That's the common sense part.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is lacking a lot of times with people.
Not so common anymore.
Not so common. And so it's always like, what's behind that wall? Oh my goodness. What's inside it? We're like, well, there's a sink here, so there's got to be plumbing.
Right. And if if people are going to go do investigation, I always tell them, look, let's take the drywall off the inside of the house first.
Yeah.
Because drywall is easier to repair than stucco is.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, if you really want to know if we really think there's a problem, if we see thermal camera shows that there's water behind that and the moisture measurements, confirm that, then let's take the drywall down to see what's going on. Because you're going to need to do that anyway to get any wet insulation, wet material.
Deal with it
out
from
of
the
it.
inside, huh?
Well, if water's getting in from the outside, you're going to have some sort of stucco repairs. But if the insulation is wet, then it has to come out anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's left in there, you're going to end up with some sort of microbial growth in the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And so the drywall, if we open it up and the drywall, there's no issue in there, then we say, okay, well, that's cheaper to repair that than having to go and cut a big hole in the stucco on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And but if we do and confirm that there's an issue in there, then let's go back. Then they're going to have to go back and find out where it's getting in on the
Right.
stucco, and you have to open up the wall anyway. Because if it's getting water in there,
Mm-hmm.
it's stuff is getting wet. You got to get it dried out.
Oh,
Otherwise, you have the microbial growth in there and it melts.
AKA mold.
Mold, mildew,
Yeah.
those types of things. It has to be
All the things.
tested before you call it that.
Right. So do you have special mold certification as well?
I don't. I don't have a lot of clients that ask for that, but it has
Mhm.
been something that's kind of on the wish list to be able to have that in our service
Arsenal.
options for us. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I have a couple of other inspectors that do it, which I, refer business to
Mhm.
them when somebody needs it. And I've talked to them about it. But it's also kind of like wells and septic. I don't do a lot of rural properties.
Mhm.
So I have contacts that do that. And I call them and say, hey, I'm going to be doing an inspection out in this rural community. And we do well
Right.
and septic. I'm going to be there on Thursday between 1 and 5.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, I'll be out there. And so we have people that we can call on to help with that. But sometimes the inspections that I offer is based on what's the opportunity to generate business from it.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah, and it's always entertaining to find a well or septic in town, which I have sold several.
Yes. There's
That
I
I'm
just
like,
did one
what?
in
There's a well here? We're in the Heights. Yeah, it's
I
kind of
did
cool.
one in Sugarland. There's a large acreage tract community that was probably when they were built, it was in the 80s, so probably out in the fields. There's
Mhm.
nothing around it. And you wouldn't know it because there's, subdivisions all around
Mhm.
it. And you just take this little road back behind this house apartment complex and you go down there to where it ends and you turn into this neighborhood and there's all these multi-million-dollar homes in there that you didn't know were there.
Yeah.
And there's still actually lots available in that neighborhood, which is surprising too, that it hasn't been fully.
How cool is that?
Yeah. And they were on well and septic and they told me it was in Sugarland. And I said, well, yeah, it's on well and septic. Really? In Sugarland?
Right? Because I mean, they should all have city
would have
water
thought so.
by that
Yeah.
point, but
But apparently not.
no,
Yeah.
no. Well, and a lot of things inside town have both. It's like they run, but they never capped off the well, so they can fill up their pool and water the yard.
Yeah, even when in the middle of
Stuff.
drought conditions or something like that.
Yeah.
Because they're pulling water from that. My side story, my aunt lived up in Spring and she said that they had 2 wells on
Mhm.
their property because it was built in, I think, the 60s.
Okay.
And they had used it to water and everything like that. And so anytime there was a drought,
Hmm.
people walking down the street or riding their bikes would come in. Why are you using all this water and everything? Well,
Yeah.
it's like we don't use city water. We're not mandated by those, watering days. Like your address ends odd number, you can only
Yeah.
water on Tuesdays and Thursdays or something.
Right.
Yeah.
That's funny. There you go. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool, unique things. And I do a lot of historic and vintage houses. And that's a whole different ball of wax from new construction.
It is. And the Heights, as you mentioned,
Mhm.
has a historic district.
Yes.
And their requirements is if you're looking at the house on the street, it has to look at what
Like it
did when
did.
it was built.
Yeah.
Now you could add on another 2,500 square feet on the back of the house, master suite, new kitchen, whatever.
Right.
But as far as the front of the house, when you do any remodels or something like that, it has to look like what it was.
Yeah. Very, very cool. Very cool. And when you do add on, you've got to submit it to the historic district and they've got to sign off on it.
Not just the city.
Make sure the roof line is still, copacetic or whatever.
Yeah. They want it to look the way it did when it was built. And the people in that area that buy those houses want that look as well. And what's interesting about that to me is that that is a small portion of the market, of the house buying market. There's only certain people that are looking for those types of houses and are wanting to live in those neighborhoods and have that aesthetic appeal.
And bring them back to, their former glory.
Absolutely.
Yes. So cool. And so what parts of town are you working in?
Most of the Houston metro area. I live on the southwest side of town, so Spring is kind of as far north as I like to go, unless there's, if it's going to be a really large house, it's going to pay a little bit better than to go farther north.
There you go.
But so, from the southwest up through Katy, Cypress, Spring, Channelview, Friendswood, and I do go down 45 because I can kind of take some back roads to get over to Angleton or Alvin or even down to Galveston. I know some investors that buy and sell properties in the Galveston area, and I help them and go down there and take an opportunity to go eat some seafood or something
right
down there.
Right. I know this city by restaurants. Yeah. I bounce around.
Exactly.
I'm like, I don't mind going over there because I can eat here. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So take advantage of that opportunity, right? So
yes.
You going in there. So it's most of the Houston metro area. I have gone to other cities, like I went to Beaumont once. A gentleman wanted me to inspect the house, and I said, that's way out of my surface area. And he's like, he said, can you charge me a fee to come out there? I was like, sure. So you just pay for my drive time out there. I said, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, did some mileage.
I drove out to Beaumont and charged him a pretty good, trip fee to get out there and do the inspection on the house.
Yeah.
He was very adamant about wanting me to go out there. I was like, okay.
I think it's great because that means he knows, likes, and trusts you.
Exactly.
So you've worked with him before. He trusts what you're going to find and say. Yeah. That's awesome for your client retention.
It was an investment property for him.
Yeah. Very, very cool. So thank you so much. I mean, for coming in and teaching, a bunch of technical things.
Yep.
And yeah, let's get some inspections going. I know that my buyers are that's one of their first questions is, we've got an inspector, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, I've got a little handful of my.
And encourage that because especially in new construction.
Yes.
Because a majority of the people that are buying new construction say it's new. What can be wrong with it?
No, you need to have an inspection at the foundation, then another one at the framing, then another one at the
phased inspection.
Yeah, phased inspection.
Well, what I tell people is that if it's built by humans make mistakes. What we're there is just identify those mistakes so they can be corrected.
Yeah.
That happens in new construction. And we find
absolutely
find holes in the roof, appliances that don't work, lights that are miswired, you name it.
Yeah.
It happens. And it's not that people are doing it intentionally, but they make mistakes.
Yeah.
Like all of us.
Not to say anybody would ever cut a corner.
Absolutely not. But they have in the tract home building, they have aggressive schedules. So the house has got to start on this date and has to be available to sell on that date. And so they really push their trades. They give them, aggressive time schedules. And when you're working fast, their opportunity to make mistakes goes.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a good point. Yes. Well, thank you for coming out and joining me today on the A to Z of Houston Real Estate with Amy Zebra and Mr. Eric Christie of Boxer Inspection. I look forward to working with you more soon.
Wonderful. I appreciate that and the opportunity to talk to your podcast and to your clients and your listeners. It's a fantastic opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks for hanging out with me on Houston Real Estate A to Z with Amy Zebra. I hope you found something valuable for your real estate journey today. And don't forget to follow, subscribe, and share this show because everyone deserves to know about the